That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode number 80 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where four friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. My name is Adam, and today, as always, or most of the time anyway, I'm joined by Sam.
Hello.
By John.
Hi.
And by Brett.
Hello.
And before we get underway, before we discuss what we're here to discuss, I think Sam needs to say a few words about what happened last week, right?
2.5 gate, right. During the previous episode of Hardest Part of the Ring, I scored SummerSlam 2019 a paltry 2.5 out of 10. Little did I know at the time the level of outrage this would elicit from my friends, my family, the fellow podcasters, and the listeners. I know a lot of people feel I was being too harsh on the biggest party of the summer, and the argument for it deserving better is strong. There was an event where Ricochet literally ran over the Good Brothers as if they were Goombas, a debut of one of the most intriguing gimmicks WWE have seen in a very long time, a surprisingly good match between a living legend and the Queen, and the rarest sight of all, Brock Lesnar even showing up. And these are all great points. SummerSlam in that respect was a success.
Okay, can we just stop there? Oh. Okay.
However, if this was a standard middle-of-the-road pay-per-view, I'd be content. But I want to hold WWE to a higher standard for their biggest events. I think WWE are very highly capable of treating their pay-per-views with far too much like their weekly shows and not turning them into enough punctuation points to end their stories. This is normally okay. It can be a bit annoying, but it's normally in good faith that it's leading to a bigger final point at the biggest event in the road. WWE broke this trend of SummerSlam. I didn't feel like they cared about it, and so I didn't care about it either. And I put as much effort into scoring it as they into making it. So... Woo. 2.5 out of 10. Stick by my scoring.
Stick by it. I thought we were going to get an apology there, but more just justification.
Yeah,
justification. Yeah.
Sam let us know that he'd prepared a statement before.
Yeah.
And I was thinking he was just... Because there was a backlash. We had quite a lot of messages from various different people. I really thought you were going to make an apology and adjust your score, move it up to like a 4 or something.
Do you know what, actually? I feel like I've actually done the nicest thing I possibly could have, which is not give you more admin to do. And then I realised how upset you are by that, rather than the scoring.
I've got the pay-per-view ratings spreadsheet open. And
all right. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It was better than 2.5.
Yes! Unbelievable.
But the thing is, I don't believe that. I don't believe it.
I do 100% stick by.
I think Sam still wants a 2.5, so it'll be a full score.
Yeah, I think Brett's probably right. Actually, if we change it, it will be.
We can't force a review on someone, can we?
Well, hold on. Do you disagree with what I just said?
No.
I really enjoyed SummerSlam. I thought it was SummerSlam.
If
it was SummerSlam, Sam would love it. That'd be a 10.
It wasn't the worst pay-per-view, like I said last week. That was annoying.
I think we change it.
You know, it is very much with the caveat that I think kind of WWE should be held to a higher level for their bigger pay-per-views, and I don't think they performed on this one.
Yeah, so 4 is still a harsh score in my eyes, so I think that's fine.
Oh dear, this is like changing the design of Sonic, you know. Have some balls and stick by your...
Or is it
stick by your design?
Now he's received all the information, he's willing to change his decision.
Well, the information being people don't like you because you gave it 2.5.
Yeah,
I feel like kind of like people won't like me regardless.
No, you're probably right. Well, Sam, that's very noble of you. I know you're just doing it because we've got the live show coming up and you don't want people to chuck stuff at you.
I don't want to get lynched. Becky lynched.
Well done anyway. And speaking of the live show, it's under 3 weeks now. Under 3 weeks away. It's creeping up on us.
Shit, man.
Hardest Part of the Ring and Tuesday Night Jaw are coming together for a Pod Bible themed Pod and Mix event. We're doing a podcast mashup. We are putting a quiz together. A lot of you will know our quizzes and the kind of level that we usually perform at. This time we are the quiz hosts and we are going to be putting the quiz to the Tuesday Night Jaw team. We've had an announcement, haven't we? Matt Richards announced the first guest and it's going to be Ginny.
Our podcast has all of a sudden become so much cooler.
Yeah.
It has, hasn't it?
Ginny, obviously, former Progress champion, WWE, NXT UK star, well known to a lot of people on the indie scene. Very excited to have Ginny there. Hopefully she's studying, reading the history books, the entire history of wrestling, because she's going to need to know absolutely everything.
Yeah, at least everything about Goldust.
Sure. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
She strikes me as someone that does know quite a lot about wrestling as well.
I was going to say, like,
trouble.
I feel
Everyone
like
knows
kind of
more than us.
all of the wrestlers are
true.
going to be bringing the knowledge, the comedy,
The charisma, the looks.
We might even ask them to come up with the questions.
John's bringing the hair, though.
Oh, yeah, we got hair
Yeah.
on lock.
Well, it's actually awful today. It's been weird for the last few days, actually, guys. Hopefully this is just the lull before it really gets into the A game. But
Okay.
at the moment, I'll be wearing a ski mask and a balaclava.
Me too.
Nice gimmick. This is the thing, though. You're saying that Ginny's probably going to know loads and wrestlers know loads. Surely, when you're a wrestler, I know a lot of them are absolute, huge super fans and are constantly studying. But when you're out wrestling all day, well, I don't think many of them are out wrestling all day. When you're out wrestling all night and you're really busy doing your training and stuff, do they all go home and keep up to date with WWE and all that kind of stuff?
I don't think they do. I've seen a few few things on Twitter where they're like, I don't really watch it.
Yeah. But then
That's
again,
so
I
weird
imagine
to
a
me.
lot of them will watch NXT UK if they're on it or if they're aspiring to be on it. Who knows? Anyway, you, the listener, can find out in 3 weeks' time on Sunday, the 8th of September at 2:00 in the afternoon at King's Place in London. If you go to kingsplace.co.uk/London Podfest, you can get tickets. I think they're about £12.50, so very reasonable. And it's going to be fun. So please come. Please come. One other bit of admin before we get on with things. I mentioned Pod Bible. Obviously, that's something I'm involved with. And this week, the Pod Bible podcast came out. We had the first ever episode and it came out on Monday. Sam, John, Brett, have you listened?
Oh, wow. Whoops.
Yeah. That's tomorrow's task, guys. It's on my list.
Unfucking believable. Honestly.
You're on so many podcasts at the moment, Adam.
You
It's
are.
hard to keep up.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yeah.
you're a podcast whore.
I mean, I co-put together a podcast magazine, so podcasting is pretty much my life. So yeah, if you want to call me a podcast whore, you can. But yeah, Pod Bible that's the magazine. I'm getting all confused now. Episode 1 came out on Monday. It featured Dan from No Such Thing as a Fish, Kate Thornton from White Wine Question Time, and the Birthday Girls from Birthday Girls House Party. If any of that floats your boat, then go and have a listen. And even if
I
it
love
doesn't,
There's No Such Thing as a Fish.
yes, you should
Such a good podcast.
listen to our podcast.
I will. I'm sorry.
But at the very least, just go and download it. Support me. Just support me. Just me. And download it and rate it and all that stuff. And then go and do the same ratings for Hardest Part of the Ring. That would be good as well. Anyway, enough of that stuff. What have we got? What else have we got to talk about? Last week we did the WWE SummerSlam review, as everybody well knows, as Sam has referenced. This week we're doing something we haven't done for quite a while because there's been so many wrestling events, and it's a Hardest Part of the Ring rewind. Usually we go back into the archives to watch a classic pay-per-view, but on this occasion we're doing things slightly differently because John
Hello.
decided he wanted to watch Beyond the Mat. Why, John?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, it's a classic. Well, Beyond the Mat has quite a special place in my heart because it kind of approaches wrestling the same way I do as a fan. So it's about kind of the characters, the pageantry, sort of the stories behind wrestling. And it managed to get some amazing access and interviews with some of the wrestlers, which are incredibly honest and kind of dark at times,
Yeah.
but also bloody hilarious.
I haven't seen this film in 20 years, so this was real strange to go back to.
Yeah, it's a 20-year anniversary. So I think it's quite nice that we're doing it in 2019, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, I say that. In different places, if you look on IMDb, it says it came out in 1999. If you look on Wikipedia, it says that it was released in 2000. And then it says somewhere else it's released in 1999. I don't actually fully know, but let's call it the 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, let's
Anyway.
do that. That's how we roll.
Yeah,
When did you guys first watch it?
over the weekend.
Oh,
Oh, really?
No, I say that. I thought I'd never seen it before. And that was always something that I kept quite secret because obviously most wrestling fans have seen it. But then I watched it and a lot of it was really familiar. The puke stuff was really familiar, and then all the Jake the Snake stuff. So I must have watched it years ago.
I'm wondering if you've seen the Being the Elite parodies of it, though.
No, it was definitely I recognised the clips. Yeah. I recognised Vince talking about regurgitating and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get to at some point.
He's going up you.
When did you first watch it, Brett?
I reckon it's probably going on over 10 years. Not when it came out, but a long time ago now.
Oh. I'm like you, Adam. I think I only saw it for the first time maybe 5-6 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I think I might have watched it when I first started getting back into wrestling again, and then there's just been so much wrestling since then that I thought I'd forgotten it all, but it all seemed very familiar. Anyway, let's have a quick break. Oh, Sam, sorry, tell us, when did you first watch it? You asked the question and we didn't ask you back.
I remember watching it in America. I was, I think, 10 at the time.
Oh, show off.
I remember
going out to America as a 10-year-old.
Humble brag.
There's nothing humble. I sat there watching it whilst playing with wrestling figures. It was amazing.
Did the wrestling figures get colour?
Yeah.
Actually, Vince did. I really didn't like him.
Was one of the wrestling figures doing crack cocaine in the hotel room?
Only my dad was, but that's fine. We got used to it after a while.
Oh dear. Right, let's have a break and then let's come back for our review of Beyond the Mat.
I love the pageantry, the athleticism, even the incredibly cheesy acting. I look at wrestling as theater at its most base. And guess what? So do most of the fans. We know what's going on. Is it sport? Is it entertainment? It's both. It's wrestling.
Right, let's start with a little synopsis for those. I mean, there probably are a few people who haven't seen it. Beyond the Mat was a 1999 or 2000 documentary film directed, written and produced and narrated by Barry Blaustein, something like that.
I would have gone Blaustein.
Blaustein, yeah. The film focuses on the lives of professional wrestlers outside of the ring, primarily Mick Foley at the height of his career, Terry Funk contemplating the end of his career, and Jake Roberts at a real low point in his career.
Gets lower than this as well.
That's true. As well as some aspiring wrestlers. It focuses on the WWF, ECW during its rise in popularity, and many other independent wrestlers and organisations. So if we say it was released in October 1999, let's do the classic rewind trope. Can you remember what you were doing then, Brett?
In 1999?
Yeah.
Oh,
Gearing up for the Millennium Bug, getting prepared for that.
Oh yeah, so I guess I was doing my A-levels. Or finishing my A-levels, probably.
What were you doing? Fine art?
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Well, it served you well.
What else did I do? Oh yeah, human biology and PE.
PE. And now you're doing wrestling training and you're an illustrator and designer and you absolutely love the human body. So that's amazing. John, what were you doing in 1999?
I was just starting my A-levels, I think. Also in art, but in history, which I would get an E in.
Yeah, I got an E in human biology.
Wow.
You guys with your A-levels.
Yeah, just before we get to Sam talking about nursery, whoever he's going to talk about, I was also just starting my A-levels. Design technology, English literature, and graphic communication, I think, which was basically graphic design.
Graphic
Communication. Interesting.
I had to design like bus stops and things like that. But I was also listening to a lot of Korn.
Oh yeah, me too, definitely.
I used to sort of. I had a skateboard, even though I couldn't really skateboard.
Did Issues come out? Issues must have came out in '99, right? Korn Issues.
Yeah.
Great album.
Really good.
I might have gone to Reading in '99 as well.
Oh, nice. I think the first year I went to Reading was 2000. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, we're all very old. Sam, apart from you, what were you doing in 1999?
I think I was either starting secondary school or leaving primary school.
Oh dear.
Somewhere between the two.
Wow.
Yeah, can we move on now?
Yeah. Let's move on. So, October 1999. Do you want to know what the UK number one was on the date that this film came out?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Oh, can I guess?
Can we guess?
1999.
Yeah, go on.
Mr. Bombastic.
Good guess.
No.
I'm going to go Fats and Small.
No. It's a boy band.
It's a boy band.
Oh. Is it truly Madly Deeply?
No, it isn't. Let's move on. It is, or it was, Westlife with
Oh, boring.
Flying Without Wings.
Oh, God.
Even more boring.
Wait, Flying Without Wings, Westlife.
Yeah.
Isn't that R. Kelly?
Whoa, you can't mention his name.
That's
Sorry.
I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, right. Never mind.
Number one in the box office, the UK film box office, was Deep Blue Sea. That was a good film.
That's a good
Yes.
film. That's a great film.
That is a good film.
That's
That's
such
one
a
of those
good film.
films that if you come back in from the pub late at night, it's on ITV4, you're like,
That-
we're watching Bleak Lucy.
And it was number one in the box office.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, it was actually getting recognition that it deserved.
It had LL Cool J in it.
Yeah. Deepest, darkest, my hat is like a shark's fin.
At that time, I had a mega pass. I can't remember what cinema was it. Well, I don't know, but it meant like unlimited cinema for the month. And we went to watch that film, Deep Blue Sea, and then came out. And I can't remember what was happening. We were getting picked up at like an hour later, so we just went straight back in and started watching it again for the first hour, and then left. We loved it that much. Yeah, what an absolutely brilliant anecdote.
Man, I missed 99. It was a good year.
It was a good year. The Millennium.
The Treble. That was impressive.
Oh, that was good. Anyway, Beyond the Mat came out, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, John, are you able, as you picked this, I'm assuming you're an absolute expert of the landscape in wrestling at this time. What was happening? What was going on?
So 1999, it was obviously a couple of years after the screw job and at the absolute height of the Attitude Era. Stone Cold, The Rock, Generation X were all massive. ECW was also pretty much at its peak, and it's just at the time where WCW was starting to struggle. So WWE basically won the Monday Night Wars, which is pretty evident in this documentary actually, because Vince has a constant shit-eating grin throughout.
Very true.
It's also the year where Rick Rude, Owen Hart, and Gorilla Monsoon died.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
bring us down, why don't you?
yeah. I'm sorry. Anyway,
Yeah, thanks for that, John. Obviously, the usual format when it comes to Rewind episodes has gone slightly out the window because it's not a pay-per-view. But there are some key matches we're going to talk about. And I'm not going to take all the glory for picking these key matches because John came up with this. So, John, what are the key matches?
so the first key match is the triple threat of Jake the Snake Roberts versus his dad and versus his daughter. Then we have Terry Funk versus his age and Mick Foley versus his body.
Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, those three the main stars of the documentary. So we're going to talk about those storylines. Then we are going to pick out other moments that we enjoyed. We're going to look at the response to the documentary, sort of how it went down at the time, how it was received, and then we'll have a little look at what happened next to the stars of the film.
World Wrestling Federation. One moment. World Wrestling Federation. One moment. World Wrestling Federation. One moment.
So, key match number one, the triple threat, Jake the Snake versus his dad versus his daughter.
Oh, boy.
God. At least we know it all turned out kind of okay, right?
Yeah, in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Jake's dad died and his daughter probably still doesn't talk to him, but Jake's still knocking around.
Yeah, Jake's alive and clean and, well,
Yeah,
And
Jake
doing his-
discovered yoga.
DDP yoga.
Have you guys seen the resurrection of Jake the Snake, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't.
It was on Netflix for a while. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like I
haven't.
need to watch it now. Kind of like as a companion piece to this one.
Yes,
yeah.
it's worth
So that's
it.
the documentary that came out. When did that come out? That came out like a couple of years after DDP basically saved him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. It's got one amazing scene in it because Scott Hall's in it quite a lot as well, and he's doing like some exercise and he's like moving his leg, and the instructor goes, "What is that noise? That massive crunching, clicking noise?" And Scott Hall's just like, "That's my hip."
Yeah, oh, he was in a bad way at that point as well, wasn't he, Scott Hall?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Poor old
really
Scotty Hall.
bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, any particular moments in Jake's story throughout the film that you enjoyed?
My favourite bit is the bit where he goes to visit his dad. Right, his dad is obviously a complete arsehole.
Oh, he's more than that when
So
you read into
angry at his son because he became a successful wrestler and he never did. But my favourite bit is where they're in the back garden, not looking at each other, just randomly smashing rocks while the dad is dressed in a shirt and trousers. It's weird.
Very
just
formal.
in silent smashing rocks.
I thought they
in the
were
back
doing
garden.
gardening work because were they just smashing rocks?
It just looked like he was
They were.
hammering a massive rock.
Yeah.
Jake was like clearing up leaves, and his dad was just trying to smash a rock with a sledgehammer. Yeah.
Huh. That's so weird. That's not how wrestlers use sledgehammers. That's the problem.
No.
There.
But Brett's very right. I mean, we all know what Jake said in the documentary about being the product of
Yeah.
a rape,
Yeah.
basically. Just
Oh,
to,
God,
to be
yeah,
blunt.
Jesus Christ,
Obviously,
yeah.
you look into that, and it's all horrible. Jake the Snake was on the Joe Rogan podcast towards the end of last year, episode 1205, if you wanted to go and listen to it, because it was really interesting. But you do hear a lot more about all that stuff, about the drugs, about life on the road. Obviously, you don't know how much of it is fully true.
and his sister. What happened to his sister?
Oh shit! Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah, she was
fucked
kidnapped
up. That's
and murdered, wasn't she?
mental.
Update the listeners, Brett. Yeah, what happened?
She was kidnapped by her. Then did she marry that guy? She married someone, I think, who was like 50 odd, and she was only like 18 or 19. And then she was like kidnapped by his ex-wife, and then like they believe she was killed but they never found a body. And the ex-wife and the now widowed husband claimed on the insurance, and then like were back together and ran off. Like totally messed up.
Jake the Snake has enough drama in him just to have his own third film. If you count this in the Resurrection, just a biopic or something.
Forget that, he could have Game of Thrones,
It's mental.
like just on Jake's story.
My favourite part of this Jake the Snake story was him talking about what he gets up to on the road with the women, and just how messed up his
that
sex
got
life.
so weird, didn't it? Like 2 at a time with toys, and then it gets more and more bizarre. You're like, what? I need to know, Jake.
The thing is that when he talks about like 2 at a time with toys, I'm like, tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh man,
Like Kaplunk and
Now I know why
Cluedo.
Brett said Game of Thrones. all the saucy stuff that Brett wants to see reenacted.
Literally, it's got everything.
Yeah.
My favourite bit in the whole Jake story though was when he went to that show in some big shed.
Yeah.
And the people were queuing, and they were like, what do you want? And one girl was like desperate to meet Jake, and then the woman next door or someone was like, I just want to hold the snakes. I just want to hold the snakes. I was like, that made me chuckle.
Man, I'm glad that the Jake the Snake story has seemingly had a happy ending, considering how rough it looked in this.
It's just nice it hasn't had the ending that you would expect of most wrestlers, particularly one that has spiraled so low and had such an awful upbringing. The fact that he is well and good, and we'll get to more on what he's been up to since a bit later, but
It seems like the crazy thing with the Jake the Snake stuff is it felt like this had the least amount of anything to do with wrestling out of the rest of the stories. Like this wasn't kind of much of him in the ring at all.
Well,
it was.
Didn't you think like why is the cameraman there when he's meeting his daughter for the first time in 4 years? It's quite weird. Like, and why did the daughter agree to it? Especially considering what she was saying when they were chatting. It's like your whole life's been in front of the camera. You need to stop that. You need to pay some attention to your kids. And then it's being filmed
Because this was 1999.
I did love her book though.
I have a similar book.
Book of Pain.
That was just black, like scratch marks every page, and then there was just like this window that was just completely black, and like that's the window or whatever he hides behind. It was just like wow.
I have a similar book for all the mean things Adam says to me.
Oh God! You better get yourself another volume. So I'm going to come at you with both barrels at the live show.
Did love that book.
The one thing though, I was just going to say, like when they did show like small clips of Jake in like obviously in his day, like he was such a great character.
Yeah.
It's an incredible gimmick, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Did everyone watch Stone Cold on Hot Ones?
Yes, his
this
story
week.
about his prep. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
about Jake just literally smoking a cigarette, no warm up at all. Just smoke a cigarette, put it out on his boot, grab the snake, go out, wrestle.
So that's the thing about Jake the Snake, is he was an absolute natural talent, just so charismatic.
You always hear that he's a great wrestling brain, don't they? Always, like Jim Ross and people like that always say that he's got such a great wrestling brain.
The Paul Skulls of wrestling.
Used to tell myself I'll never ever do drugs. Never. No way. It's for losers. And we were wrestling 26, 27 days a month, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, catching 8, 9 airplanes a week. It was basically a necessity just to continue. And you took pills to go to sleep. You took pills because of your pain. You took cocaine to wake up so you could perform. You drank till you go to sleep. You took sleeping pills. It's a trap, you know? It's a trap. Cocaine. It speeds me up so fast I can't think about my past. It speeds me up so fast that I don't have to be responsible.
Good. Right, let's move on then to the next match, the key match from this documentary, which is Terry Funk versus his age.
In a loser retires match.
It's, we love Terry Funk. I think, what was the pay-per-view that we watched on Old Rewind?
It's like an ECW One Night Stand. I don't know. It feels like every single match of Terry Funk's I've watched is a retirement match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to have a quick wiki because I couldn't remember, because I knew he didn't retire then, and I was just like, I don't know when he was last wrestling, and in here it's like he was wrestling in 2017.
I've got some information because in the film he supposedly retires at WrestleFest, was it?
Yeah.
And there's a big deal. I mean, you could see his family desperate for him to retire.
Yeah.
And obviously he's in an absolute state. One of my favourite bits of the whole thing was the clip when he's with the doctor.
Yeah.
He's explaining
that's
what a
my
mess
favourite bit as well.
his knees are.
On your good knee, your left knee, you have moderate to severe degenerative arthritis. You don't have a good joint space in here. You have some narrowing of the space, arthritic spicules in there, and it's not going to function very well. It ought to be able to get by the rest of your life just hurting all the time. All right. On your bad knee, on the right knee, you have no joint space. You have severe degenerative arthritis. You have worn that knee out. It's been hurt too many times, and you are going to need a new knee. You need a new knee now.
Let me ask you one thing. If I don't have an operation or if I don't have a new knee put in there, can I go ahead and live comfortably? Can I get around comfortably?
You shouldn't be able to get around comfortably now.
There you go, absolute state. But after that, so he was gearing up for his retirement match, had his retirement match, and then apparently they said at the end of the documentary that within 3 months he was wrestling. But then after that, he wrestled again for ECW, for Ring of Honor, for TNA, for New Japan, loads of other indies as well. Then in January 2013, at the age of 68, he said, "That is it. I have officially retired." And then in October 2013, he wrestled for All Japan. 2015, he wrestled for USA Championship Wrestling. 2016, he officially, this is official now, guys, he announced his retirement. Then in September 2017, he made another return to the ring when he wrestled for Big Time Wrestling. And then there has been nothing since then.
He just loves it, doesn't he? He loves wrestling.
He just loves it. Yeah, you're right. He loves the pain.
I wonder
He
if
loves
he
the
made
blood.
like a pact with the devil or something, where it's like, I can only die once it's in the ring or something.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he just doesn't feel pain or something? What the doctor was saying about his knees.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. It must be, right?
Yeah.
I have to say, when I was watching this, because I was watching this on YouTube and the resolution is not great, and I was watching it on my TV at home, I was quite glad that the resolution was bad. It was blown up, so it was even worse when he was naked emerging from his bed in that first shot, just pasty white, like
that was weird as
blubber
well.
falling over the edge of it. Oh, it was grim.
A lot of the shots in this were very weird.
But obviously, like the camera. So you think about the background to that. The camera crew have turned up, the guy, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we're here to do some filming with Terry." And then the wife's like, "Oh, he's actually still in bed." And I'll go and wake him up. And the camera crew's like, "Oh yeah, okay, switch on the camera. We'll walk in with you as you wake him up." I mean, it was quite a funny shot because it shows what state he's in the morning. But if I was Terry, I'd be like, piss off. At least let me get some trousers on. I'll come out and chat to you properly.
But I think that kind of highlighted a lot of the points about this pay-per-view, about this film, was that kind of a lot of the older wrestlers didn't really seem like they were really cognizant of what was going on around them in any way, shape or form. It just kind of felt like they were kind of almost war veterans in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Like I've never seen wrestlers in documentaries since this be as candid and open.
Well, I think they all realised it was probably because of this, basically. Yeah, particularly with someone like Jake the Snake, because I know that he was not happy at all after this was released. Felt really exploited.
He was doing crack in a hotel room. I mean, that's on him. He's the only person who can blame for that. Admittedly, when they edited it together, they did add loads of weird, wavy fades, which made it look a lot worse. But still, crack hotel room with a camera crew. That's on you.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, any more on Terry Funk?
I was just going to say,
absolute legend.
Yeah, I think he's in one of my favourite wrestling films, Paradise Alley, with Sylvester Stallone, and we should do that for a rewind at some point.
I've never even heard of that.
Exciting.
Yeah, yes. I don't know. Is it good? Is it actually good?
It is actually good.
What's it called? Paradise Alley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Check it out if you haven't.
I mean, you got me down on that because I like Sylvester Stallone. I like Terry Funk. That's a win-win right there.
Yeah, this is if I think it's Stallone in like Rocky, like around the time of the first Rocky.
Oh, sweet.
40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But that's because people don't like wrestling.
I was going to say, Adam, you probably watched Raw this week in comparison.
Yeah, okay, very good point. Let's move on then to the final key match that we picked out from this documentary, which is a big one. Mick Foley versus his body. But also, I'd argue versus his children's mental health.
That was hard, wasn't it? It's hard watching that.
I've got some points on that though.
Okay.
This reminded me why Mick Foley is my absolute favourite wrestler ever.
He comes across so well in this, doesn't he? Like such a lovely human being.
Just the best person on the planet. I absolutely love that guy. I wish he was my dad.
And he was, back in the day, he was quite a handsome fella.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He was
I
big,
never really
though,
remembered that of him. Like, I was like, bit of a looker there, Mankind.
He genuinely made me spit my drink out with laughter when he was talking about how many people he touched and how he'd be touching his wife later.
As his head's getting stitched up.
Yeah, just incredible.
I love the bit where he asked his dad permission if he could wrestle his own kids downstairs. Through the door. Like, Dad, do you mind if I wrestle with the kids in front of the TV cameras? What? No!
Yeah. It was nice to see a wrestler with a good relationship with his dad.
Yeah,
for a change. But I think it was just nice to see this, obviously filmed at the time, at the real peak of his career, holding the world championship.
That is the most mental thing, is that they really captured the perfect moment of one of the most legendary wrestlers ever. Not only that, but they captured like probably the most iconic scene in all of wrestling when he fell off the cage and then kind of got put through it. Like, no scene beyond that is more iconic for me in wrestling than that one. And the fact that it was there at the time, capturing it, kind of is incredible.
So obviously, I mean, the main story for Foley in this is him gearing up for his I Quit match at the 1999 Royal Rumble with The Rock. A match that I hadn't seen, so I watched it. I paused the documentary at that time, went on the network, went to the Royal Rumble and watched that match.
Really?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
I can't watch
really
that
good.
match now.
I mean, I think it was great for the drama of it and watching The Rock in his prime as well. I mean, it at times it's a little bit slow. At times you can tell they're both not quite sure what they're doing. But obviously, the main takeaway is... Well, actually, there's two takeaways. Number one, Carlos Cabrera has been on the Spanish announce table just forever. I couldn't believe it when I saw a young Carlos Cabrera. And I had to Google him. He's been working for WWE for 25 years.
Wow.
Do you know what the crazy thing is that in Spain, they think that about Michael Cole.
Yeah. But the second takeaway is, of course, unprotected chair shots. They're bad enough when you just see one.
Yeah.
But 10... 10,
rough.
And he was hitting him hard.
Yeah.
I think Mick Foley has a bit of beef against The Rock for this, doesn't he, still?
I don't know. Do you think?
Well, the funny thing about it was he took like 6 shots to the head, and then when they were out on the ramp, there was one bit where he got up and he's like he sort of shows his back to the Rock, doesn't he? He's like offering up his back, being like, "Go on, I'll take one to the back now, please." And then nothing happens, so he turns to look, and Rock smacks him on the head again.
Yeah, he was a bit like even in the bit afterwards, wasn't he? Like,
yeah,
he was commenting on like, he didn't have to.
He said, "If I saw Rock now, I'd strangle him."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always find with Mick Foley, kind of like, for me, he's the last generation's like Tomohiro Ishii. Like, kind of, he's a wrestler who is absolutely solid, who perhaps never was the absolute best, but every match he was in made the other person always look like a star.
Yeah. And you could tell that a big thing for him was connecting with the crowd. He talked about that a lot in this documentary, like trying to like have that connection and give people those moments.
Yeah.
And even with him chatting to Vince about the match afterwards, he's like, "Do you think that was too like gratuitously violent?"
I think that's the thing I love about it so much. It's kind of like when Jim Ross is talking about it, and he was just like, if Mick doesn't feel like he's almost like suffered for it, he doesn't feel like the crowd have been given a good enough value. And it's like, man, this is a guy who loves his job.
Yeah.
And just absolutely awesome person.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if Mick enjoys the pain, but I don't think he hates it.
Should we talk about the family stuff? Brett, you said you had some points on this.
Oh, well, yeah. I just because I thought, it was all sort of being put on Mick Foley, like, you're having those sorts of matches, and perhaps he shouldn't for the kids and all that sort of stuff. And probably, more for your health and your body, Mick, not so much for the other bit. But I just thought, kids react how their parents react, and the mum was in there watching it, and I know, like, that's your partner and thingy, but sort of she should have been watching it rather than like, she was like shrieking at all these moments, and the kids were feeding off that.
Yeah.
I mean, can you blame her?
Yeah.
Are you saying she's a bad mother?
No, I'm not saying she's a bad mother. I'm just saying, like, with certain situations, kids feed off things because they don't fully understand, and you're telling them it's not real, but then you're reacting like, oh my God, he's going to die. Sort of thing. So the kids are going to just like suddenly feed off that, and it's just going to like freak them the hell out. Whereas like, I know there are times when you would worry for your partner, especially doing that stuff, but at the same time, they're a wrestler and they should know what they're doing. So you have to like be calmer in those moments.
The whole thing about wrestling though is it's all a bit of a carny act, isn't it? And you've got to wonder, like, if she knew she was on camera, did she maybe play it up?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not with her kids like that.
Yeah.
It looked kind of real to me. You might be right. The thing is, though, is that wrestling is so different now, and there's no match where anybody's getting hit over the head properly with a chair, and especially that many times. So I can kind of understand that reaction, because The Rock was fucking smacking him with that chair.
Yeah,
it's a weird choice of match to invite your wife and kids
along
to sit front row.
Yeah.
It is. Well, what was also interesting is seeing like the people sat around them. They weren't really watching the match. They were watching the wife and children, and everybody just looked very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What I found irritating is after the match when they were backstage and Mick was bleeding with his family, just give him a bloody towel. Let him just at least wipe the blood off so he's not so terrifying in front of his kids. Just like a shower curtain of blood down his face.
Yeah, you would just sort of like keep him away just for a moment, just for him to clean up, get some bandage on, then bring them in. But it was all, if it's for the documentary, like you say, and it's all keep them in there and get the reactions and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wondered if it's like on the indies nowadays, you see it having access to all the wrestling photographers on Twitter and stuff. Seeing a lot of those wrestlers, they might want to just wipe their face, but people are like, no, leave all that blood. Let's go outside and stand by this bus stop and let's get some mood lighting, and then this could be your new portrait that you sell. So it might have been a bit of that. Maybe he was having some photos done or afterwards, or the camera crew said, no, don't wipe it. This is going to be great. Who knows? Anyway, Mick Foley won that battle, right? I mean, he walks with a bit of a limp, and he's got half an ear, and you could argue that maybe he's lost a few brain cells, but I mean, he's clever enough to write a book.
Yeah, I think Mick's done very well, actually. He got out at the right time, though. He got out only a couple of years after this, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was sporadically here and there for a while. I think kind of his last match was 2012. Yeah. But sort of like that was, again, very sporadic. It wasn't like kind of week in, week out wrestling. And he very much changed his style after this match. Kind of, he got away from his more ECW hardcore style into a more sort of comedic, sort of a lot of wrestling, a lot of kind of Mr. Socko and stuff like that, shorter matches.
Yeah.
But, the old Mick Foley his finisher was jumping off the ring apron to an elbow drop where he'd land on his hip every time onto a chair.
Yeah, he stopped doing that weird screech as well.
Oh, man, he was so cool.
During the Mick Foley bit at the end, did you notice a young Dave Meltzer do a little interview?
I did.
Great seeing the great man, young, full of beans and joy.
Yeah, he looks absolutely jacked.
There were interviews with him during the documentary.
Yeah, it's just the one. I thought it was just the one, wasn't it, during the Mick Foley bit?
I can only remember the one.
I think I watched the director's cut.
Oh, there's more Meltzer in the director's cut.
Yeah, I think there's a director's cut which is better quality than the normal one because I think basically we all had to watch this on YouTube because it isn't on any streaming service. And
the thing is, I think I've got it on DVD, but I couldn't be bothered to find it. I've got a massive stack of DVDs, and I'm like, no, I'll just go to the YouTube version.
I think I had it on VHS, but then I think my dad recorded Eurotrash over it or something. But yeah, so we watched it on YouTube, but it was quite tough watching something that's that poor quality. So I think, Brett, you're up next to pick the next rewind. You're going to have to pick something in HD, please.
HD.
Okay, so those are the three main players from the documentary we talked about. We'll have a quick break, and then we'll talk about some of our other favourite moments.
It's the perfect ravioli for all mankind.
And we're back. And Sam, have you got a moment? Any other moments from the film that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the bit with New Jack. I thought that was quite a lot of fun.
Right.
Oh, that audition was a bit awkward though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Totally. Really awkward. Especially considering kind of the career that New Jack then went into or down afterwards.
Yeah, what
happened?
Nut job.
What happened in that clip?
In the clip, New Jack basically kind of said he had 4 justifiable homicides on his belt, and kind of wrestling was sort of real. Connected himself to David Blau. Is it David Blaustein who made it, or Barry Blaustein? Barry Blaustein. And then kind of used that connection to have an interview with some Hollywood kind of people.
Casting directors.
Casting directors, thank you. And I don't think he ever heard from them again.
No, it was quite awkward because they said it's a no, but then they looked at him and saw how terrifying he was. But you could be a great leading man one day.
I know, I love that. And then the woman was like, maybe not leading man.
Brave woman.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that to New Jack. That dude is mental.
That's the guy you ghost. You don't tell him to his face. You just,
Definitely.
don't call him.
John, other moments?
I was going to say the bits with Jim Cornette were really cool. Like, often Jim Cornette these days is just a noisy, squeaky parrot.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen his beef with David Starr recently? Oh,
no.
dear.
Good
What
Lord.
a twat.
But in this, he comes across really nice, like talking to those rookies from the APW, was it? The APW.
Oh, yeah, the Mike Modest and the Tony, whatever his name is.
Yeah, and just sort of talking them through, like, don't be scared. They're not going to know who you are when you're wrestling in front of them, but do this, do that. It just seemed like quite a cool, nice guy.
That was actually one of the most interesting parts, wasn't it? Was Jim Ross and Cornette watching the match backstage.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting seeing them talk about it. I mean, obviously, that's not how things are done anymore, right? They'll just get people to the performance center and run them through drills, and they're not actually going to be chucked into a match. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's part of the process. Maybe at some stage they get to do a dark match at a house show or something. But I imagine things have changed a lot in the last 20 years.
A lot of people say that Mike Modest now would have been an NXT kind of up and comer if it happened now, but. Yeah, right place, right time, or in this case, not so much.
Brett?
I'll go with seeing Coco Beware again with his parrot.
Oh, Coco.
Yeah, I used to love Coco Beware.
I particularly enjoyed, there was a little section when there was a lot of Vince at the start, and then they kind of were like intercutting bits where all the senior staff were saying how great Vince is, and then all of the wrestlers were saying how awful he is and how he's like reneged on promises and all this stuff. Yeah, some people drinking the Kool-Aid and some people 100% not. I enjoyed seeing Vince because that is something we would never ever ever get anymore.
Yeah,
no
it's that
way.
kind of access, seeing Vince in his natural habitat, especially the stuff with Puke coming up with the gimmick, and that kind of stuff. But the person who I really liked, who I keep picturing in my mind, is Roland Alexander, the guy who ran All Pro Wrestling.
He seems like a caricature of a wrestling
Exactly.
promoter, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly what I had written down, that he looked like a caricature of a wrestling promoter. But I love how invested he was in his guys. He seemed really into it. He started crying when he was talking about Mike Modest not having a contract. And then I did a bit of reading about All Pro Wrestling after this, and apparently shortly after this film, they suffered a wrongful death lawsuit from the family of a trainee. There was a trainee who was doing some training with the Great Khali.
Oh yeah.
Before he was the Great Khali, and then apparently this guy had an existing concussion and got bumps to the head and had to go to hospital, and he died on arrival. And APW had to pay $1.3 million in compensation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have that money, did they?
No, well, but the amazing thing is, I mean, Roland Alexander, he died, R.I.P. Some problems with diabetes and heart problems.
Shocking.
As expected.
Yeah.
But they're still going, APW, and Jeff Cobb is their current Universal Heavyweight Champion, and Jungle Boy is their Junior Heavyweight Champion.
No way, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at their roster now. They've got some amazing names on
They
here.
got Colt Cabana on there.
Colt Cabana.
Madness.
They've got Madness on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joey Ryan.
Their ring gear is
MVP.
baggy trousers. Anyway, that's it. Those were some other key moments, or some little fun moments that we enjoyed from it. Should we talk about the response? What people thought of it at the time? It has an IMDb rating of 7.6 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%.
Pretty good. I mean, what did you guys think of it? Did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed this a lot.
I enjoyed it. It was a great, especially with the WWE stuff at the time, like seeing backstage, behind the scenes, like it showed you, like even the moments, just seeing The Rock and Mankind talking, and then Stone Cold comes along and says
love
hello.
that.
It's just nice.
Bits. Yeah, that's lovely. That bit.
They're all being really friendly to Foley's kids.
Yeah.
Even Shane was there, like on his knee, like, talking to them. That was cool. I mean, it's considered one of, if not the best wrestling documentary. It's probably up there with Wrestling with Shadows, right?
Oh, we should
Yeah,
watch that
yeah,
next.
absolutely.
Brett, choose Wrestling with Shadows.
Yeah, it would make sense for Brett to pick that. But I just think it's because it got that behind the curtain access that you just, like, the only way you get that now is if it's a WWE documentary, and even then
you're only seeing what they want you to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It did have a few negative reviews at the time. Lisa Schwartzbaum from Entertainment Weekly said, Beyond the Mat is entirely dependent on and shaped by the good stuff the director happens to get, rather than driven by hard questions a journalist might want answered. And Paul Tatara of CNN wrote, Blaustein seems to think that he's humanising these guys by showing how normal they are out of the ring, but he's unintentionally making their penchant for self-mutilation all the more inexplicable. There are a couple of laughs in the movie, but the overall effect is much more depressing than it is humorous.
That's probably fair.
It's not meant to be humorous.
It's not comedy. It's not comedy, Paul. Chill out.
He was, criticising it for being what it was meant to be. Because it was dark. It was dark.
Very dark, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously when it came out, Vince wasn't happy, and he removed all advertising for it from WWF broadcasts, and he ordered that all of his wrestlers that featured didn't talk about the film, even though Foley did help promote it. And they ended up using the tagline, the movie that Vince McMahon doesn't want you to see, which I'm sure helped with lots more viewers.
100%. Like, if Vince was in that position and he had that, he would do the exact same thing. Like,
for sure.
Anything. Yeah.
For sure. Last thing we're going to do is a little Where Are They Now, looking at some of the key people and what they've been up to. Obviously, we've referred to some stuff already, but Terry Funk, still alive, still got his knees. I mean, I imagine he had surgery or something in the end, right?
Oh my God. How have we got to this point and not even mentioned Dennis Stamp yet?
Yeah, Terry Funk's mate.
Like, literally the legend of this film.
Yeah, the guy who was still training by bouncing on a trampoline with some weights.
Yeah.
He was ready for his chance to wrestle again, wasn't he? Anytime
Not
he knows
booked.
50.
Just not booked.
Not booked.
I don't go to any show unless I'm booked.
So cringe.
That chat.
It's like, have
Terry.
some self-respect, man. Just go to the bloody show.
So, yeah, I remember Being the Elite did an amazing parody of this with Flip Gordon and Matt Jackson. really worth watching.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. Dig through all the hours of that show. In 2009, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame by Dusty Rhodes. And then in 2013, he inducted Mick Foley.
Oh, we're talking about Terry Funk. Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about Stamp again. What the hell?
What a rise. And then the only other note I've got about Terry Funk is apparently in September 2016, he underwent surgery for a hernia and was supposed to be definitely not wrestling. He was supposed to be resting and in bed for a couple of weeks, but he chose to attend Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore shows instead. Yes, Terry. Wouldn't expect
Such
any
a
less.
fan.
Mick Foley, as we sort of said, this film had quite the impact on the rest of his career because he came across as so thoughtful and sensitive. The Mankind character kind of transformed from like a freak to more of a lovable goof and became a huge fan favourite. Obviously was already, but just became so popular. Won the WWE Championship 3 times. After retirement, took on roles as the WWF Commissioner, SmackDown Color Commentator, and more recently, Raw General Manager. And also, amazingly, became a best-selling author. Obviously, he's got his amazing memoir that he published, but also some novels and children's books as well.
Also, his stint as SmackDown Commissioner is one of the funniest I've ever seen.
He was the whole commissioner of the whole of the WWF, wasn't he?
I can't remember. I just remember because I think at the time I was only watching SmackDown, but he was fucking amazing on that. He basically travelled around with a gavel and was just making impromptu kind of court judgments.
Dear. Jake the Snake, as John mentioned earlier, his problems got worse before they got better. Apparently he moved to England, wrestled for a load of the indies and put on his own shows to mix reactions. He was more often than not inebriated during his matches. And during his time in England, he was accused of starving his snake, Damien, to death and ended up being called to appear at St Albans Magistrates Court.
We've all been there.
I love the idea of like a magistrate working that day, like a secret wrestling fan, having to contain their excitement when Jake the Snake walks in. He then returned to the States, wrestled for a load of other different promotions during the 2000s, and his health deteriorated so badly that Diamond Dallas Page had to get in touch. And in 2012, basically changed his life. Amazing.
And long may it continue. Not changing his life, but the good part.
Yeah, he actually moved him into his own house, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like totally rehabbed him mentally and physically. I mean, I couldn't think of anything worse than living with Diamond Dallas Page.
No.
But I'm in a privileged position to feel that way. The Rock, obviously we all know about The Rock. Don't need to tell you anything about him. As I mentioned, Roland Alexander died 5 years ago. Puke, we should mention Puke. Darren Drozdov. The final frame of the film let us know that he was paralysed in a match and left unable to walk. And that is still the case. He's still alive.
Have you seen that photo of him in his new wheelchair?
Yeah.
Massive tank wheelchair.
Custom tank wheelchair. Apparently that was all paid for by the guy who started Under Armour, the business. They're like best mates.
That's so cool.
But Droz also went on to be a columnist for the WWE website and magazines as well. So, they gave him work.
Cool.
Yeah, well done, WWE.
No, because he wasn't a big guy. They could have easily have just cut their losses and just been like, oh, no, too bad. It's good for them and good for him.
He did get paralysed whilst working for them, though.
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
Fair
Anyway,
point.
let's not talk about the ethics at WWE. Obviously, I have to credit Wikipedia for a lot of that info, but also whatculture.com. They had a really interesting article about what happened to a lot of the stars there, just in case anybody from that website is listening. Yes, I did rip off your content. And that's the end of the Rewind review. Is it? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's very good.
Good. How do we feel about
the film,
reviewing
not the
films?
podcast. The podcast was awful.
How do we feel about reviewing films?
I'm down to do it more.
I kind of miss reviewing wrestling. I feel out of my element.
Yeah.
But we could do The Wrestler.
The Wrestler.
that's pretty dark.
Yeah, that's dark, isn't it?
Apparently, Darren Aronofsky got the idea from The Wrestler after watching Beyond the Mat.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's basically just the Jake the Snake story.
It really is, yeah.
What about No Holds Barred?
Oh, I've never watched that. I've never watched that.
How about Three Ninjas at High Noon at Terror Mountain with Hulk Hogan in.
Yeah. See, we got to do some of these at some point.
How about the WWE Scooby-Doo movie?
Oh,
they did.
Which one?
I know there are a few, aren't there?
Let's do all of them. Let's do a mega pod and do all of them.
I definitely prefer watching the old pay-per-views personally. That's why I had to watch that I Quit match. I was like, oh, this gives me a chance to watch a wrestling match. But yeah, it was good fun, and I'm really pleased I watched it. So thanks, John. Brett, you're up next to pick the next rewind. We're probably not going to do it for a little while, but any ideas? I mean, it sounds like you might want to pick a film, or do you want to go back to a classic pay-per-view? What are you thinking?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
Good. Leave people guessing.
Yeah, you'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We will find out in due course. Anyway, let's have a quick break and then let's wrap things up.
Quite frankly, what we've come up with is, since you are able to regurgitate, on command, it just seems to me that it's pretty logical that you should be puke. Puke has a nice connotation to it. It's like you got animal, you got hawk, you got puke. And it shouldn't be just plain puke, it should be puke,
Next podcast, I think we're going to have another week off because we've got a quiz to finish, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, right. We've got work to do.
Well, basically, next week, there's not a huge amount going on. The week after that, we have possibly the busiest weekend of wrestling and one of the most amazing weekends of wrestling the industry has ever seen, because there's NXT UK, there is New Japan, there is... What else is happening, guys? I can't remember. There's all these different things happening. AEW, of course. Basically, there's a lot of wrestling that we, on any weekend that they were happening individually, we may well want to watch and review. So we're going to have to work out what to do then. But then also, we do have this quiz in a few weeks, so we're going to do some work on that. And
not to mention, we're all going to be at live wrestling too. You guys are going to be at Riptide. I'm going to be at New Japan.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, we should mention that. Riptide have got their bank holiday wrestling shows coming up on Monday. 2 shows being held at the Brighton Outdoor Theatre, which is really cool. Like this little amphitheatre thing.
That's awesome. I'd love to be able to go to that. I
can't wait. The weather looks pretty good as well.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, what do they do if it's raining? Just cancel. You can't wrestle in the rain.
They wrestle in the rain, just like Suzuki versus Okada.
I mean, it would look amazing, but there'd be a lot of groin strains, I reckon. What are you doing, Sam? You say you're going to the New Japan show?
I'm going to the Royal Quest, I think it's called, the New Japan thing at the Copper Box.
Nice.
Where, weirdly, Okada Suzuki's the main event. So.
Oh, man, it's going to be... Where is the Copper Box?
I think it's in East London.
Is it the Olympic Village? Sure. Was that?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
Do you know what? I've been there. I saw handball, Olympic handball.
I remember this. I remember us discussing it because we were talking about how the goalkeepers in handball are on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah. And here was I last week thinking the Copper Box was in Japan, and it's a venue I've been to. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that is cool. So, we'll let people know on social media what we're going to do in terms of which shows we're going to review, because there is an awful lot to talk about there. And then after that, we'll be gearing up for the quiz. There'll be all sorts of other stuff coming up. So, in the meantime, if you want to keep in touch with us, or if you want to get in touch with us, Brett is your man to let you know how to do it.
You can send your emails to hardestpartofthering@gmail.com. You can get us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. We are at hardestpartpod. And you can check out our shop, which is hardestpartofthering.bigcartel.com.
Perfect. Obviously, do get tickets to the live show if you want to. It's kingsplace.co.uk/London Pod Fest, and our event is called Hardest Part of the Jaw. Until next time, it's goodbye from me, Adam. Goodbye to you, Sam.
You need to pay me my retainer and some crack, or I'm not doing the quiz.
Okay. Goodbye, John.
I'm gonna puke.
Goodbye to you, Brett.
Goodbye.
I always feel bad for Brett because quite often Sam prepares something, John improvises something, and then Brett's like, "Shit, what do I do?"
We always drop him in it. I love
Plus, John took the most obvious one there as well.
Yeah.
Fucker.
Stole your heat. Scooped it.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, everybody. That was the Hardest Part of the Ring.
That is